Hello everybody, welcome to Tokyo. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about the new digital nomad visa. This is something that was announced. It was something that the writing was on the wall for this already. Everybody knew it was going to be coming when. We weren't sure. It was announced just yesterday and today, and they're going to be taking more feedback from people before they actually launch it. But it's been announced, which is really good stuff, in particular because this digital nomad thing, it's something that has been growing over the last, I don't know, like 10 years maybe, but really the word itself has come into the lexicon maybe during the pandemic because more people were able to leave their homes to work remotely. You no longer need to be confined to one office. You could work just about anywhere. And a lot of countries, about 50 of them, had already had these nomad visas where you could go and work anywhere. But Japan didn't until now. And that visa is going to be launching by the end of March. We're not quite sure yet, but some of the details have been announced, so we can go over that right now. So one of the sites that I like to go to is Kyodo News Source for English information. This is from February 2nd. Japan to allow longer stays for digital nomads to boost consumption. Yes, of course that they have an ulterior motive, perhaps. Let's go through this article. It gives us some of the details. You can see that there's a city underneath us. I'm going to push pause here. Tokyo plans to enable foreign talent and remote workers known as digital nomads to stay longer in the country under a new visa system in order to boost economic growth and consumption, the government said Friday. Under the envisioned, foreign digital nomads who travel while working remotely for companies will be able to reside in Japan for up to 6 months by obtaining the designated activities visa, a rise from the current 90 days allowed under the short-term visa program. It's going to be to 6 months, which is a huge limit. That's double the amount of time. Before, you used to have to make quick trips to Korea in order to renew the visa. To be granted the visa, this is the information you need to know. Workers will have to meet certain conditions, including being a resident in one of the 49 visa-exempt countries and regions that have tax treaties with Japan, and taxes, of course, and will be expected to have an annual income of more than 10 million yen, which actually with the weak yen is $68,200. But if the yen gets stronger, this number changes. So this wall, I guess, could go up and down depending on the currency fluctuations. Their spouse and children, this is important, will also be granted entry. The government will solicit opinions, and this is why it hasn't been released yet or launched yet. They're still taking opinions from the public on the plan, not from other digital nomads, but from the Japanese public, I guess, from Saturday, which is tomorrow, with the eye on introducing the system within fiscal 2023. So it's going to happen. The move comes as business circles request the government to expand efforts to welcome digital nomads into the country. It is estimated that more than 35 million people are working as digital nomads across the world, according to the Immigration Services Agency, citing a U.S. travel firm survey. In June last year, the government said it would consider increasing the duration they will be eligible to stay as part of the new capitalism growth and redistribution plan approved in June. Digital nomads can become a source of innovation, said the justice. Okay, and the article goes on and on and on. So you get in the picture here. This is kind of an exciting thing because it means that Japan is changing. Before they had, nobody could enter the country, and now, starting in November of 2022, it seems like almost everybody can enter the country for different reasons whatsoever. They've also lessened the load on the special work visas. So if you have some of the skills that are necessary for Japan's economy, you can get a work visa. One of them that was introduced was truck driving, which is super cool. So if you're a truck driver and you have some experience doing it, you can come and work in Japan as a truck driver, driving around the country and seeing all the the sights, I guess, from a truck window, which is pretty cool. So there's a lot of sectors in the Japanese economy that require people to come here and do that kind of work. It's an exciting development. So I want to hear what you guys have to say. I'm going to look at a couple of other articles here. This one I believe is from the Japan Times. Here, let's go over this article here. Digital nomad visas to require 10 million in income. So the criteria in order to get this visa is 10 million yen. And I guess you have to, when you go to apply for the visa, you have to prove that you can get this, maybe a bank statement or show your bank account, which is something that they do here quite a bit in Japan. to get these certain kind of visas. So you have to weigh whether or not the advantages are good, but I think with this kind of visa, you'll be able to set up your life a little bit better, perhaps get different kind of accommodations, maybe longer term apartments, for example, which I think the next article I'm going to show you is kind of pivoting into that. If you have a digital nomad visa, not only can you bring your family with you for this certain amount of time, but you can also get special accommodations which are wired for what you do, which is to be online for your work. Japan plans to begin issuing 6-month visas for digital nomads with 10 million yen, which is $68,200 or $300. And the article goes over this. It just shows how different it is from the current short-term visas. Again, most countries get a 3-month tourist visa on arrival, and if you want to stay longer, you can't renew it. I think you have to leave the country in order to do that. But the half-year period was chosen based on the survey of digital nomads. So they did some research on this, in which the majority said that they would prefer to be able to stay longer than 90 days. Not a year, that'd be a work visa. The current length of visa-free short-term stays is up to 6 months. Now, Japan Times article doesn't say so much more on this, but let me go into this one. This is from another site here. The source is listed on the top there. Japan plans to construct 10,000 homes for 1 billion digital nomads by 2035. So I think they're banking on this digital nomad thing to just increase, where like a fifth of the world's population or more is going to be able to work from anywhere digitally. And that makes a lot of sense considering all the stuff with the goggles that came out for Apple and a bunch of other new technology. We're starting to see everybody's just ultra connected, which is somewhat scary to me as someone born in the 1970s. But hey, that's the world we live in today. Mitsubishi Estates has announced plans to offer housing for digital nomads in Japan amid aiming to operate a total of 10,000 rental homes by 2030. The company has reached a licensing agreement with US-based Blue Ground Holdings, which is known for specialized housing services. So they want to build specialized housing for the kind of lifestyle of digital nomads and their families. So that article goes over it. You saw the source there. It's pretty exciting stuff. We're moving into a bold new world here, and Japan is increasingly being one of those places why digital nomads are flocking to this trendy Asian destination this fall. This is from last year, so more and more people are coming to Japan. Why? It's safe. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why people want to be digital nomads in Japan. It's safe, it's well networked with the internet, the accommodations are pretty modern. Everything is pretty new here in Japan. The food, the getting around is really easy. It's a convenient place. Japan is made based on convenience. There's a vending machine in a convenience store within like 100 meters. In fact, within eyesight, you could probably find one or two or three. I think there's like one vending machine for every 5 people in the country or something, or maybe it's even less than that. So it's just a really wonderful place to live. Low crime rate is definitely one of the things. And if you wanted to network with other people, this is also a great place because so many people are coming here. And of course, you get to see all of the sites if you're working here as a digital nomad. I don't have too much more I wanted to talk to you about with this topic, but I'll take some of your questions here in regards to this. So a work visa is quite different than a digital nomad visa in the sense that legally, and this is maybe where some conflict is going to come. And for those that are watching, bureaucrats or political leaders who watch this show to discuss this kind of stuff, they do read the comments here, what your feedback and thoughts are. I would say that there is some confusion on what the heck is a work visa and what can a digital nomad actually do? Can a digital nomad work with a Japanese company? The answer is no. You can't make money in Japan. But how you, like that's what's really confusing to me with the work visa. So technically, if you're coming here to make a video about Japan and you're making money on that video, you need a work visa to do that. It's a tax thing and it's also a legal thing. So if you're a YouTuber coming from, I see pesos here, from Australia, for example, you should be coming under an entertainer's visa or a specialist in the humanities visa. I don't know, but you should be coming under a work visa because you're working in Japan, technically. Now, there's going to be debate on this. I know that there's going to be debate because it's even confusing to me. But I have a work visa. I'm allowed to work here. That's not an issue. I pay taxes here. I'm a resident of Japan for a very long time. So, you know, I'm clear with that. But all the YouTubers that are visiting here, it's something that I think you should consider. And I don't know how the law is going to change, but when you look at this article, they really want people to come here and spend some money. So I think that they're a little bit lenient right now. It's always the case is if YouTube creators in particular are coming here and causing trouble, that's when they start to rethink the rules and make it stricter. So if you're walking around with a camera, you might get checked with police, for example. This is something that's potentially possible in the future. Well, they'll check your visa status and say, look, are you making money off of what you're doing? If you say yes, you possibly could be using Japan as your work without the proper visa. It's a gray area, but it's something that I think is going to be talked about more and more in 2024 and 2025 as what I do becomes more mainstream. I started this in 2017. It was really basic. We didn't have super chats. We didn't have memberships. We didn't have a lot of the ways to make money off of live streaming. The signals was not very good, but it was kind of fun to do that live streaming. Now you get 1080p video like you have right now. You could pretty much do this job anywhere, and that's what makes it pretty fun as well. But now so many people are doing this kind of stuff that it makes Japan a little bit uncomfortable because we do have imaging laws here. We do have policies that are different in public than in the West. You know, I know the United Kingdom, you know, I'm talking about the piano player who had people in the background say, you can't use our images. In Japan, that would be true if they request it. But, you know, there's also laws. It's also kind of a gray area because you have to zoom in on people's faces, for example, or make them the target, or actually be profiting off of them. There's certain. It's a very gray area. But if somebody complains in general, you should be respectful of that in Japan. If it's another country in the West, then the laws are different. So you have to be mindful of the country that you're going to visit. The laws for working in Japan are different than the laws of working in the United States or Czech Republic or anywhere for that matter. I say that because I just saw an article on the Czech Republic bringing in a lot of digital nomads, and it's a beautiful country, so I can imagine why. Ulfi writes in here, true, but 6 months is still paltry, not enough time to fully experience a place, let alone find a spouse. Find a spouse? Are you coming here to find a spouse or to work? Make work connections? You can renew the visa every 6 months, but the thing is, a digital nomad is not a resident of Japan. I think this is where, and I'm really happy for the question, Ulfi, but there's a difference between a resident of Japan and a digital nomad. A digital nomad is somebody who can work anywhere, but that doesn't mean you're going to set up your life here permanently. You're a nomad. Nomads don't, build houses. They rent houses. They don't build infrastructure. They kind of use the infrastructure that they have around them. At least that's my term of a nomad, because I have been to places where there were nomads. I remember going to Morocco out in the desert and meeting nomads. They would set up their tents in a certain area, and then they would pack up, put it on camels, and we were at a nomads camp. This is 2003, way back there. I remember driving from Marrakesh. I rented a car with 3 other people. We drove out to the middle of the desert where we were offered a chance to go and stay with quote-unquote nomads. I don't know if it was like a touristy thing, but that's what a nomad is. A digital nomad should be no different. You're not going there to set up your life. You're going there to use what's around you, not to set up something for you. At least that's what I thought that's what nomad means. It's not no man, it's nomad. It's more like a no-man visa, writes in here, Crafts by You. Yeah. Heather Fling writes here, never heard of that before, a Japan thing. What do you mean, the nomad visa? I don't think, no, that's actually a nomad visa has been around for quite a while. I can walk down the street a little ways. Nomad visa has been around a while for a lot of other countries. Japan is just the newest place to do it. And in a conservative place like Japan, they're never the first. They like to see what other countries do first, and then learn from that, and then they'll initiate this stuff. But it's about time, because this is sort of the direction that tourism is going. People want to stay longer and longer. in particular in Japan, and this opens up the door to that. It's interesting to see that there are new options. That's always a positive thing, writes in Dylan. Absolutely. I think it's opening the door to more and more new stuff. And as it's successful with it, I think that there's going to be more new stuff, opportunities. Digital nomad visas are a growing movement, a lot in the Caribbean countries, places where people wanted to go, UAE, Portugal, Spain, Malaysia, places with beaches, places where you want to go, but you want to live there, but you don't really want to live there. You kind of want to experience it. And let me put it to you, let me tell you this, okay? For a lot of you that have dreams of living here in Japan, unless you've been here, you don't really want to live here. I mean, first you have to learn the language, and a lot of you aren't willing to do that, okay? I'm just being honest here. The second thing, you have to learn the language. Second thing is that there's a lot of bureaucracy to Japan that is extremely frustrating, which is why this 6-month blues, and this is another reason maybe why the visa is 6 months long. The 6-month blues is a real thing. You move here to Japan, you become a resident of Japan, and it's after 6 months, you start to see that the inner workings of this paradise that you thought it was going to be, like living in a manga or anime, like this is the greatest place on earth, actually there's a lot more to it, and you're in part of a conservative country that has a lot of rules that make no sense to you, in particular because you don't know the language or the culture, and you have to abide by that if you become a resident, and you don't want to. You want the best of both worlds. You want the best of your country, and you want the best of Japan, and that's not normal. That's not what happens. You have to abide by the laws and the rules of Japan in order to make it work. And I've seen so many frustrated foreigners who come here, in particular English teachers. They came here with one thought and they left here with another, and they get upset and angry and disgruntled, and they become one of these hate Japan type of people. And it really breaks my heart. I worked as a trainer for English school chain way back, and yeah, I remember training people, and then 3 months later they were gone, and my job was also to try to convince them to stay, because we were thinking about the kids, because we taught children. And some of the nasty stuff that they said, I mean, I was very understanding and say, yeah, I can see that, but there's a reason why. This isn't the United States. No country's perfect, including the place that you come from. So, living in Japan is one thing. I think digital nomadism is probably a good thing, because I don't think the majority of people that think that they want to live here actually really want to live here. I adopted because I probably could adopt anywhere. I think I could make a home just about anywhere, but that's not something that is common for a lot of people. Right now I'm smelling this coffee shop, the very, roasting, acidic smell of coffee wafting from this shop in Tsukishima is really nice. Oh man, it's keeping me awake. Yeah, I'll take one more question here, and you can leave them in the comments below. I think this is interesting to debate, and again, this visa has not launched yet. They're still discussing it, so the comments that you have here are actually quite valuable to understanding whether or not this is something that people want. Who knows? Sometimes they'll announce stuff and then take it away too if it doesn't work out. Yeah, this is Monja Street. This is like my backyard, just like Ginza's my backyard. Chuoku. It's a nice place to live. Patio writes in here, I couldn't live long-term outside of the West. I think that's a good point. It's just a different kind of life. I think you could take advantage of all the good stuff by being a digital nomad here, but you also have to make money outside of the country. And I think that that's smart. The 10 million yen a year criteria, that means you have to make like what, 750,000 yen, about 800,000 yen a month, which is triple what an English teacher makes here. Okay, so you have to be in a job that's doing pretty well. This means a lot of business owners, a lot of people that are maybe middle managers or are working at Google or a tech company. You have to be making about like the equivalent of what, like $6,000 a month, $6,000 to $7,000 a month, which is for younger people kind of a high barrier. So digital nomads, I think, are probably going to be in their late to early 30s, maybe. I could because you have when you have a family. But if you can bring your family with you and still make that money, I think that that's something that you should definitely, think about, right? Why not go live in another culture and feel, feel the world? That's pretty exciting to be living in another country. I've been to 70 some, I can't even remember, 70 some countries, maybe 75 countries over the last, since 1996 when I started backpacking. And then I moved here in 1998, and I continued backpacking for several years after that. It's so awesome because you spend in America, speaking as American, you spend your first, 12 years in school until college learning about the world, and you spend 4 or 6 years in college learning more about the world, and then you go into a job or in a career and you don't really see the world. I think that's an awful thing. I think you should go and see the world, either travel as a backpacker, or now you can just do your work in the world, and that's so cool. And I'm really happy to see Japan opening up like that. Can anyone say that they're a digital nomad? I think so. I think you could say you're a digital nomad if you have a job where you can make like $60,000 to $75,000 a year, and you can work from a computer anywhere. That makes you a digital nomad. You can't just say you're a digital nomad. If you're not making, you can't walk around, with a, as a hipster and make no money and say I'm a digital nomad. You're just a nomad. Digital nomads, well, I guess you could. In Japan, you need to have a certain amount of money to call yourself a digital nomad. It's not just anybody. I like that comment. People are used to seeing Japan through shows that only show you the positive pros. That's how many felt disappointed when arriving in Japan. That dude, I really like that comment, and that's absolutely right. And I think because the negativity, it's not critical, like I don't think it's negativity about a country that does well on any platform. It's criticism is also, right, Tyroid's in here, that's called a backpacker. Boom, there you go. I think criticism about a country is fair, and I think you have to live in the country for at least 10 years to be able to have a voice to criticize a country. I really think you can't just do it after a year because you don't understand. And I don't think you can do it unless you speak the language because you just don't understand. So I think Michael Sassano is here. I'm down to satisfy your coffee senses. Oh, really? All right, I have a point card to that place. I might pick up a pack of coffee. Although Diana in Singapore gave me a huge box of coffee from Singapore, so I'm always thankful for Diana's visits to keep me caffeinated. Hey, Sashi's here. Hey, Sashi, did you get the postcard yet? I've always said Sashi's postcard. Have a vending machine drink? Thank you. Yeah, I think there's one down there. I appreciate that. I believe in my company allows a month of work outside of our country, so not sure if it would be worth getting the special visa. That's another issue. B&H, I think, thanks for adding that comment. I don't think everybody can work outside of the country for 6 months, for example. But for a lot of digital nomads, they want to be able to set up their lives and get special accommodations. And if you have a tourist visa for 3 months, you can't do a lot of stuff, all right? You can't do a lot of stuff. So this digital nomad thing probably opens up different kinds of accommodations. It allows you to get some of the services. One of the conditions was that you must have your own health insurance from outside Japan. And that's kind of a big deal in Japan because Japan's burden on the health industry right now is huge because we just have too many, we're top heavy with senior citizens. So you're gonna need your own, and the healthcare system is like buckling. It's not, I mean, you hear stories. So you're gonna wanna have your outside health insurance. Make sure that's gonna be definitely one of the criteria for this visa, to make sure that if you got sick, you're not gonna be a burden on this country. They only want you to be, well, look, Japan will give you all of the convenience and safety and delicious food that you can buy. But also, they want to make sure that you're not going to take advantage of our social services because they're all overburdened. Toro Poco, freshly ground coffee. All right, let's go walk by there because I can smell it and it's so nice. John, you are aware of the J-Find and J-Skip visas launched last year. Yeah, there are some visas that allow you, there's so many changes that are happening. So there are visas if you do enter this program where you can get in so much quicker, for example. I love the changes, you know. Actually, it was Irvin, who is one of the viewers of the show. He and I were talking about all of these new visas that make it really convenient for him to come into the country and to and encouraging people like this shows them that they're wanted, that you want people to come and visit your country, which is the opposite of what we had in 2020, where if you remember the comments, this isn't that long ago. It's like, I saw that, look, if Japan doesn't want foreign tourists, we're gonna go somewhere else. And I got so many questions like that. The reality was that people didn't want to go anywhere else. They just wanted to be wanted. Just like everybody. Everybody wants to be wanted, right? I want to be wanted, and I want you guys to want to watch the show. So, you know, that's why maybe we have a lot of people watching. But Japan didn't feel like they wanted tourists over the pandemic. And I think that the vast majority of the older generation, I think, felt the same way. There was just a fear. And Japan is risk adverse. There's no, like, explaining the pandemic, there was no, to me, there was no surprises with the reaction. Zero surprises with the reaction to the pandemic, zero. And now I'm seeing, this is actually surprising. The speed at which they're doing these changes is actually surprising to me as someone who's been here for 25 years, 26 years. Oh my God. Saya writes in here for the meat vending machine or the coffee vending machine. Saya, how do you remember that? Oh yeah, we walked by it. Oh yeah. All right, I guess we can walk down here for a couple of minutes. I'm gonna walk down Monja Street and past this really nice smelling coffee shop. They only sell coffee in there, and you can see they have these canisters of all different kinds of coffee from around the world. I go in there every now and then. I get the coffee from Costco because it's just cost effective. I got a bunch from Diana, but yeah, Dew writes in here 67,000 is nothing. Well, to most people, unless you don't have 67,000, that's something. It's something to me. They've done so many renovations on Monja Street. You can see the old Showa era gates are there, but the new high-rise apartment building, and I saw the prices, it's about $1 million for one apartment in this building. So it is definitely an expensive place. And it's also a really convenient one. But you can see they kept the Showa era streets, but they widened it. So now it's, they widened it, so it feels a little bit more comfortable to walk down the street. I'm actually, if you keep on going, you get to the whale meat vending machine and it's still there. But this is also, I think, if you're going to be picking a digital nomad area, and this is the last thing we'll do, we'll keep this stream going to 30 minutes. I know all the information that you needed was in the first 15 minutes, first 10 minutes of this video, first 8 minutes of this video. So if you're still watching, thank you. I appreciate it joining me here in Tokyo. This is one of the neighborhoods I think that you might want to live in. Where are you going to live if you're a digital nomad? You can live anywhere. You could live in Tokyo, you could live in Kyoto, you could live out in the countryside, which would be really cool. You're not going to have great internet maybe, but you know, there's a lot of places that you could live. If you're going to be living in Tokyo, you know, you don't want to live in Shibuya or Shinjuku. That's where the tourists go. If you're going to be a digital nomad, you're going to want to live maybe in a residential neighborhood and kind of feel Japan. You want to learn about the country, and I'm telling you right now, like if it's your second time visiting Japan, Shibuya, that's the melon palm place, by the way. If you're visiting Japan, Shibuya, Shinjuku, these are all touristy places. This is where people go to work, not live, all right? Shibuya-ku has places, residential neighborhoods, but not Shibuya, like Hachiko Scramble. I know, like, maybe digital nomads want to live there. Maybe they're going to build housing there. It's going to be expensive. You don't really learn about Japan there. Here's the whale meat vending machine corner. I'm surprised it's still here. Okay. Yeah, tell me about it. As you can see, there's like nobody in there, so yeah, not to worry. Japanese don't really eat whale meat, okay? They're trying, by making a vending machine, corner, they're trying to get people to go back to something that's kind of obsolete. They don't really, nobody really buys it. It's just too expensive too, and it doesn't taste that great. All right, so yeah, I haven't seen another whale meat vending machine corner, but you know, we talked about this before. They're trying to keep it alive, but Japanese people don't want it. No one's biting, as you can see. It's like completely, I've not seen anybody go in there and buy something, unless they do it like at midnight secretly. But it's a bunch of old timers that are in this industry trying to make their family business continue, and it's really hard. All right, everybody, that's all I got for you. I think Japan's a great place if you want to be. I mean, look at the food and the restaurant options. It smells so good on this street. You want to be a place where there's good food, good cafes, and you got that here. You get Meronpan right over there. You have, look at this. Like, you're going to be eating really well if you were to come to Japan as a digital nomad. And now that this visa is going to be launched by the end of the fiscal year, 2023, which is March 30th, we expect. They're still getting some feedback on the conditions of it. I think some people should. I think Irvin should apply for this. Some of the other people that come here so often should apply for this. Stick around. I would love to see you try to make residents out of you and learn a little bit more about Japan. And I think that staying here for 6 months, in particular, staying in one spot in the city for 6 months, I think you start to make neighbors, make friends, learn about the country. Start cooking at home instead of ordering out. I think this is all really good stuff, and you take away a lot from the culture. Staying here an extra 3 months compared to the 3-month work visa is actually a big deal, I think. It does make a big difference in your experience. And, you know, if you're making money, you spend it here in Japan. We'd love your money. we need it for sure. Tourism is maybe the biggest and only growing sector. It's not LCD TVs and things like that. Smartphones, Japan doesn't even make any. Well, Sony has some. It's like there's not a lot of growing sectors here like tourism. So we appreciate your coming here to make cash. Irvin is here. Already knew a few apartments. Irvin, come down here, live near Tsukishima, and then we can go get some monjayaki instead of katsudon in Ginza. Although I like that place too that I showed you. I gotta go in there and get another katsudon. I just love you. Just walk around the street and you see all this eclectic stuff. Don't ask. It's a old kisaten, which is a Japanese coffee shop. Irvin has been reincarnated into Buddha. Really? Yeah, but I'm sure that a lot of you would like to call Japan home, and I would love to see all of you here too. In fact, we had a lot of people that came, a few people that came for the bus trip that were, living here in Japan. I was surprised, not just tourists, but foreigners, non-Japanese living here in Japan. And that there's a huge community, and that's one thing I think Japan should focus more and more on. You tourists are great, but then there are a lot of expats living here in Japan, in particular in Tokyo, and sometimes that's forgotten quite a bit. So there you go. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you, and if there's any more developments, I'll share it with you. I'll be going to Okinawa the day after tomorrow. So Kanai, Leo, and I are going on a little bit of a family vacation. It's more or less my birthday trip. So I'll take you, of course, with me. Maybe we'll go get some Ishigakijima Wagyu or something like that. There's a lot of good foods down there on the islands in the very south. I'll be closer to Taiwan than I will be to Tokyo, which is kind of cool. Hopefully it's warmer. Although with the sun today, it's not too bad. It's not too bad today. All right, everybody, take care. I'll see you again real soon. Bye-bye. Mata ne.